Hey guys, how's it going? It's Al. Thursday night football happening just in a couple of days. It's week 4 on DraftKings NFL DFS, and I'm going to talk to you about the single game showdown slate for this Thursday night between the Green Bay Packers and the Philadelphia Eagles. We actually get a game. Now, granted, the Monday night game did turn into a fun game, and it was a really fun showdown slate after looking like it was going to get completely out of hand and deflate the ball with the Bears getting as far up as they did in the first half. It actually turned into a really fun slate coming down the road as Case Keenum kind of turned things around and started throwing the ball to McLaurin and to Paul Richardson and to everybody else on that offense. And it became a fun slate. This game projects to be a very fun slate. We have two teams that match up with one another in a way that the puzzle pieces fit. The Eagles are a team that we constantly are going to be trying to attack with opposing wide receivers. Green Bay's got a pretty good quarterback and a couple of really good receivers that can get deep as well as get peppered with shorter targets to boost that PPR that we get on DraftKings. The Eagles, they're going to spread the ball out. We also know that they've got an injury, which is going to open up a little bit of value for us on this slate. And Green Bay has a possible injury that we're going to have to monitor as we get closer, as the week progresses. I'm recording this video on Tuesday morning. Obviously, this game kicks off Thursday night. So as inactives come out an hour and a half before this game, we're going to have to find out if this one injury is going to completely change the slate and give us a massive amount of value with a player on Green Bay's roster. So if you guys appreciate the videos like I appreciate you guys showing up for them, please drop a like on this channel. Drop a like on this video, subscribe to the channel, and make sure you ring that notifications bell so you can get notified. I don't want you to miss any of the 6 to 8 videos that I put out every single week of NFL season right here on YouTube. So thank you for being here, and let's get to the slate. So the first thing that we got to look at is the prices. Obviously, we've got DAVANTE Adams, the highest priced guy on the slate, 11K in the flex, over 16K. Coming off of a bad game, and he hasn't really had a monster game yet. This is one of the players who is one of the odds-on favorites to lead the league in terms of receiving touchdowns, because that's just what Aaron Rodgers, number 1 wide receiver, does year in, year out. He was an absolute monster last year. He has had 3 very tough matchups. We've talked about on stream, and every one of these recordings, this one included, are recorded live on twitch.tv. Please, there's a link down below. I would love to meet you. Drop by the stream and say hello. I'm live 6 days a week. DAVANTE Adams has 3 really tough matchups. Against Denver, where he was shadowed by Chris Harris. They moved him out of the slot with the injuries that they had on the outside. Minnesota, very good defense and very good cornerbacks there. And he posted 106 yards against them, but no touchdowns. And against Chicago, one of the best defenses in the league. Now he gets Philadelphia and roast and toast on the outside. We have a situation where DAVANTE Adams can finally feast. We've spoken many times about how quarterbacks typically are not in the tournament winning lineups, at least not when you look at every single showdown slate. Of course, they can win you a showdown slate, but they're not in every one of the lineups, even though they have the highest median projection typically on every showdown slate. So I try to limit the quarterbacks, at least in terms of my exposure to them in captain. I'm still going to have a ton of ownership of the quarterbacks in my overall lineups, but I want to limit them in terms of captain because players like DAVANTE Adams and everybody else on the outside have way more upside. Players like McLaurin from Monday night, players like Gabriel from Monday night, who ends up with 3 touchdowns in the first half. The Bears defense ran a touchdown in and was very vital to having in your captain spot, or Gabriel having him in your captain spot. Even though I think the tournament winner had a quarterback, 10 or 11% of the time, a quarterback and the captain wins the showdown slate. So DAVANTE Adams, highest projected player on the slate, one of the highest upside players on the slate, highest touchdown equity on the slate, and it should be reflected in his overall ownership and his captain ownership. Aaron Rodgers, volume's way down. One of the most efficient quarterbacks in the new modern throwing era of football, with 6.1% of his touchdowns, 6.1% of his throws coming in the form of, or ending up in a touchdown. Hasn't topped 20 fantasy points yet this season. Again, 3 really tough matchups. This is a bounce back spot for him. If I'm going to have Aaron Rodgers in my captain spot, which I'm going to have lineups with Aaron Rodgers in the captain spot, I definitely want to make sure that I have his pass catchers. The lineup builder that I use to build my 150 lineups is dailyroto.com. So looking at their lineup builder really quickly, the first thing that I want to do is remove this so you guys can see this a little bit better. I come over here to the groups. I'm going to add an Aaron Rodgers captain key lineup. This is with Aaron Rodgers at captain. I'm going to add every single one of his pass catchers. I'm going to add Davante Adams. I will include Aaron Jones in that group. Marquez Valdes-Scantling. Actually, you know what? I'm going to leave out the running backs out of this one for now, right? So we're going to put that in there. We're going to go with Valdes-Scantling. We're going to have Jimmy Graham. We're going to have Geronimo Allison. And if Jimmy Graham is injured, obviously Robert Tonyan goes in there, at least as far as I'm concerned, over somebody like Mercedes Lewis. Of this group, I'm going to make sure that I have at least 2 of these pass catchers in every single one of my Aaron Rodgers groups. I will probably also build an Aaron Rodgers bring back group. That means if I build another key group with Aaron Rodgers as captain, I'm going to name this one BB for bring back. I'm going to make sure that I have at least 1 of all the Philadelphia players on that in those lineups with him at captain. Carson Wentz, Ertz, AGHOLOR, Sanders, Mack Hollins, Jake Elliott, maybe JJ Arcega-Whiteside, maybe Darren Sproles. But your bring back group should, like this, at least 1 save. Groups are really the key to me in terms of building lineups with a lineup builder. If you're not using a lineup builder to build your lineups, make sure that you are thinking about how I built those groups for every single one of your lineups. And as far as the captain's concerned, if I have Davante Adams in a group, I am going to make sure in that Davante Adams group, I'm going to make a group for Davante Adams where every lineup where he is the captain is going to have Aaron Rodgers in that lineup as well. Because if Davante Adams has a big day, one that's going to win me the slate in terms of him being in the captain spot, Aaron Rodgers more than likely also having a monstrous day as well. Moving on to some more plays on this slate, Carson Wentz. He hasn't had a massive day. Week 1 was a very good day, but multiple touchdowns in 2 of their 3 games. We know where the ball is going to go on offense through the air with him. They don't really run the ball and don't really have the talent to do it right now, even though I'm a believer in Miles Sanders. That ball is going on the outside to some very predictable places. Carson Wentz throwing the ball to Zach Ertz a ton. Carson Wentz throwing the ball to Alshon Jeffrey, who is predicted to be back for this game. Djax is out, which does not necessarily mean that Nelson Aguilar will see the amount of targets that he got the last couple of games, but he will be in those groups with Carson Wentz for me. Miles Sanders saw a solid amount of targets, but not a ton of targets, just getting kind of iffy work, but priced up in that mid-range here like he is. So I'm going to have shares, but not a ton. Looking at the rest of this group, where's the other guy? Mack Hollins plays right behind Djax. So if Djax is out, which he does project to be, Mack Hollins is going to be the deep threat. So he needs to be in your Carson Wentz groups as well. Other players that I think are interesting on this slate. The first one that we're in a holding pattern for is Jimmy Graham. Didn't practice Monday, but that's not really a surprise. Most veterans don't practice one day after playing a game. Many players take that Monday practice off. On a full slate, that's the Wednesday practice. It's not a practice report that I typically worry about. So it's not one that I really put that much stock in. The Thursday and Friday ones matter. For Thursday night games, it's the Tuesday ones that matter a lot more than the Monday practice. We'll see if he practices today. Don't have a report from that yet. If he's out, there's 2 other tight ends on this roster. One of them being Mercedes Lewis. At this point in his career, he's obviously a pro, but he's not really going to be somebody that can stretch the field. He's not somebody that can, in my opinion, win a showdown slate for you. If he has a 2 touchdown game, it will likely come on 4 targets. The player that I want to invest in, if Graham is out, is going to be Robert Tonyan. This guy can play. He can move. He is a very good athlete playing at the tight end position. He has more upside, in my opinion, and coming off of a 3-target game last week against Denver, this is the guy who can really have a big day for you. Think about that Evan Ingram touchdown from the Giants game this week where he caught a drag route and then turned it upfield and was gone. Robert Tonyan, if he catches a ball and he gets behind the, gets to run free behind the DBs, those safeties aren't catching him from behind. He is a candidate for a long touchdown. And only at 200, in the case that Jimmy Graham is out, he's going to be an extremely highly owned player on this slate. Other guys that might be a little bit interesting in the mid-range, we mentioned HOLLINS, DARREN, SPROLES as well. You might want to have a sprinkle here and there, kind of a tournament dart throw, but not a core play for me. Eagles defense, probably not on the road against Green Bay, but they do have the ability to get to the opponent's quarterback, though they have not shown the ability to do that so far with 2 sacks through 3 games. This front line not producing at the levels that it had before. Kickers, I'm going to want to have shares of them, but in a game like this, and we've talked about this on other Showdown streams as well, I'm going to group, just like I showed you on Daily Roto before, I'm going to group both kickers and both defenses. And on a game like this, I'm going to limit to one of those in any lineup. I want to focus on getting as much upside and touchdown equity as possible. Now, if one of those kickers ends up kicking, 2 50-yard field goals and ends the day with like 20 fantasy points, that's going to be the guy that you're going to want to have in your captain. Those are the nights that I'm probably just not going to win. You got to pick something. You can't cover every single base. And for me, that's really how I'm going to be looking at this Thursday night football showdown. So appreciate you guys being here. I hope that you enjoyed the video. If you did, please drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel. Make sure you ring that notifications bell. Tons of new content that I come out with every single day of the week, except Saturday. I got to take one day off, guys, during NFL season. I appreciate y'all being here. Thank you for showing up for another video. I'll see you again tomorrow with the head-to-head battle against Manny Laura. Until then, bye.